trying to ramp up the video quality. I'm going to do a video on faders in the Jono, not Bono, Cubase Touch Controller, and I just felt that this needed a bit more detail to show some of the stuff on screen. Basically, there's 184 faders in this, and it just grows. Like, I never realized how many faders would go into something like this, but yeah, let's have a little look at it. Right, we're in the touchscreen. We're in the Jono, not Bono touchscreen. Okay, so the first thing to talk about is the layout, I guess. So what we have is a module here on the left, a module here on the right, and we have this central panel that's contextual and all sorts of stuff. It shows loads of stuff, but I don't want to get too into that. However, we do have, I'm going to use the mouse a lot to actually point so you can see where I'm essentially talking about. But here is a row of switches, and we have one called faders, and let's not look at that yet. But as you can see, this is a massive fader panel. Yeah, let's just keep it less chaotic at the moment. Okay, so what we've got, we've got audio, CCs, mics, quick controls, sends, and pitch bend, and we've got that. We've got audio on both sides, CCs on both sides, and mics on both sides. And the reason for that is whether you're left or right-handed, or maybe you actually want the audio mics here on the left, and you actually do want microphone positions. Maybe you want CCs there if you're left-handed, or maybe you want them over that side. And you know, I use a hardware controller for faders, but these are just kind of like a luxurious faders, really, just to have, just in case you need to quickly touch something. But yeah, that's why they're the same on each side. I've also put quick controls 1 to 4 on the left, quick controls 5 to 8 on the right, sends 1 to 4 and sends 5 to 8, so you can see them all at the same time, basically. And pitch bend, just for the convenience of whether you're left-handed or right. Okay, so we've also got a panner. I'll talk about the panner briefly in a second. It was a nightmare. We've got, this is a track panner, and then this is a library panner, which is set to CC10. And basically, yes, I'll talk about the panner. Basically, there's a bug in Cubase, and the panner has 127 values. So half of 127 is 63.5, and there's no such thing as 63.5. So whenever you double click on the panner, it always says R2 or L2, depending on whether you choose 63 or 64. And I hate that. Like, I want it to go central. So Clelson, the long-suffering Cubase guru that I work with, has figured that out, and I shall demonstrate that as a first demonstration. If you look at the panner in Cubase up here, and I'll move the panner here, I will double click it, and it's bang center. Now that doesn't seem like a big deal, but honestly it was a nightmare to do that. But yeah, let's go back into the touchscreen for a second. The panner works exactly like the Cubase panner. So it says C in the middle when you're central, and then when you go to the left, it says L with a number, and then it will say L when you're hard left, and then same with right. So it's exactly the same. The panner over here is a library panner. So if I open up a library in Cubase, if you notice here, there's a little pan pot. Now I'll move the panner in the touchscreen. You can see the pan pot moving, so that works, and that centralizes. I should say this, that the library panner is only a one-way panner because there's no way of getting the data out of the library into Cubase and into OSC, so it's just a transmit thing. However, our panner is two-way. It's a bi-directional panner. If I use the mouse in Cubase, can you see the panner moving in the touchscreen? Let's make the touchscreen big, and I'll just use the mouse. If I click on it properly. Oh, that's the track level. Shit, I just gave that away. The selected track fader is also two-way. But yeah, so this will read back automation, and that's really handy, so you can actually see, you know, where you are. Okay. As we're talking about panners, the layout of this is fine. If you want audio, CC mic, quick control, sends, pitch bend, you've always got a panner there visible and ready to go, so you don't have to page hop. Same with this. But what happens if you want to go on the edit page and then, I don't know, CC lanes? All of a sudden you have no panner, right? Well, we do, because I made sure that here on the, we call these, or calling these, the left central and the right central panels. Basically, here is a panner here. So it's a giant panner as well, works exactly the same way. And here's a switch on the right, and you can instantly switch to library panner and pitch bend. So let's talk about pitch bend quickly. I'm going to try and keep this video down, but there's just so many things in this at this point. Okay, so pitch bend is on both sides. I wanted a vertical pitch bend, like a pitch wheel, basically, and because sometimes when you're rising in pitch, it's nice to go up physically. So when you do this panner, let's not distract with these. You have to touch the fader head or anywhere to the side of it. So let's use the mouse. You can click there if you want, and it will work. However, the point is, if you don't hit it there, it won't grip. It also springs back to the central point, which is like key. Otherwise, what's the point in it? So let's go back to this central panner. This has a different setting on it. This has a snap setting, so you can still drag it by the fader head or the knob, but you can also tap it with your finger anywhere you want. And I'll demonstrate that. I don't even know if I've got a good sound that we could use. So, you know, that's more of a sound design thing. But failing that, if you still don't have a panner because you're actually using other things and you want to use the, that's another feature that we have. Let's put it on there. Let's say that we're using note lengths. Then we have an automation window, which you can click, and that I sort of replicated the automation panel out of Cubase, and you there have the panner, huge panner for detailed panning, library pan again, and pitch bend again. So it's pretty flexible to actually show a panner. Okay, so enough of the panner. Let's stick that back on home. Let's demonstrate the audio. Okay, so the first position, the first fader is control room level, the next is listen, and the next is click track, and the next is selected track. So let's just demonstrate click working. If it's actually on. Okay, so I'm going to turn the click down. And there we go. Something I also should say, all these faders, if you double tap them, they go back to their default values, which is kind of handy. And because they're multi-touch, you can just literally do them all at the same time. Same for the panner. All these faders so far are fixed. You can't change these. And there's no need to change them because they all work with generic remotes. And the panner's scripted and stuff, so it's just set. However, okay, let's talk about selected track. It's basically a two-way fader, as I accidentally showed you earlier. So if we put this back here and I move this, you will see in Cubase the fader's going up and down, or the level, I should say. If I use the mouse in Cubase, you can see in the touch controller, the actual fader's going up and down. Now, if we go to control room, same thing. If I move the knob, that's moving. If I move listen level, I'm trying to see where everything is. You see the faders moving. So that's all two-way. At the bottom of these faders, I've put, on the control room, I've put, if I move the touchscreen quickly, you might see this, and I'll get rid of the camera. If I press, actually we can have the touch screen. If I press dim, you can see dim turning on, reference level, on, off, AFL, PFL, click track on, click track off. And then we have read and write automation for the selected tracks, which is handy because then you can quickly draw, record automation in. So let's demonstrate that now. If I hit on the fader, I'll use the mouse. Now the track's armed and ready to record and write automation. Let's hit record and what have I done? I've done something wrong. Yes, I didn't even hit record. That's good. Okay, so let's hit record and let's use the fader, selected track fader. And you can see it's instantly drawing data. Now let's play that back and you'll see the fader move. Okay. I just thought it was handy to have those there just because it's quicker. Okay, so we'll get through these set mics first because I've got something exciting to show you in a second. Okay, send levels. Let's just quickly have a look at this. We've got send levels 1 to 4 this side, send levels 5 to 8 that side, and a read and write automation on all of these. I did just have a play with this and set up audio sends. Okay. One thing about audio sends in Cubase is that you actually have to physically go up and turn this on. And then why would you use a fader for that? Because you can just use your mouse, right? And just do that. Like, it's just ridiculous. So this is why on each of these faders, I put an on-off switch just at the bottom and a post-pre. So if I make this small again, I'm going to touch the send level 1 and turn it on the fader. You notice how it's gone orange now. And if I press post, it goes to pre and then pre to post. And when I do that, you'll notice the actual buttons themselves change to actually give you feedback to actually know what you're on and post or pre. And basically they all work like that. So let's just turn all 4 of these on and then you can see all the faders. We can just control all the faders. I'll show you there in Cubase. You see that they're moving them and controlling them. And obviously this is two-way. So if I use the mouse, you can see the fader in the controller. I think that covers sends. Quick controls. Let's do quick controls. Okay, so if I click on a track in Cubase, pay attention to the upper left and right modules. They're all two-way as well, which is really handy for automation. So let's have a little look in here. Okay, I want to record this. Let's record some data. Quick control 1, far left. I'm an idiot. You need to write automation. Okay, so now you see that's actually recording. And the next one, the next one, the next one, the next, and then the next. And we play it back and you can see the faders move. See the faders moving? Okay, I'm just showing you that this stuff works. Okay. Let's have a little look at the central panel now. All faders. Okay, so we've got quick controls and then we've got mic positions. Let's actually show you the actual fader now, because I haven't even shown you what the faders can do. I've just shown you like I've been showing you two-way stuff, right? So all of these faders are customizable, other than the ones I've just demonstrated. They're fixed. So what I mean by customizable is, if we take this QC4 fader, the components of it are an input. So we could change this. I already changed one to, I don't know, I was just tired. But let's change this to don't make a touch controller. Too many letters, but you know, you get the point. You can rename the track, any of the faders. Obviously the fader works, but in the bottom corner you've got a value. So you can see here where I'm putting the mouse, it changes value up to 127. If you tap on the bottom of these faders, you bring up this number pad, and you see this says CC104. So I programmed these in just so they would actually be default to quick controls, but you could change that immediately now to CC21, and you've got, you know, vibrato or whatever you've assigned that to. We can also, if you press on channel 1, change the MIDI channel, which could be super useful. And then the final little bit of gloss here is, if you press that little circle, sorry, I'm not using the mouse, am I? It's really helpful. If you press here, you can change the color of these things, and then hit confirm, and then you see the fader changes color. You can do that with every single fader in here. So let's talk about the mics again. Okay, so we've got Spitfire, Hans Zimmer strings, and I thought we'd, you know, put all 26 mics in this bad boy. Here's the GUI. Notorious, you know, this is an amazing sounding library, but you have to page hop 5 times to actually look at all the mics. Now, the reason I've put all of these mics in the controller is so it to basically maybe spark a bit of creativity, because I can instantaneously just pull the faders up, and let's change them at the start. You'll see all of the mics move like there. Let's keep the tree how it's default. You see how instant that was? Maybe I just want to put the outrigger there. I don't even have to go under the hood. I can just turn them on, just to prove that this works. Spot 4, obviously on the touch controller, it's the last one, so let's move that. And you could just turn them on. So you can just instantaneously try and get a new sound that you never would, because let's face it, hardly anybody probably uses all these mics, except the bottle mic, of course. My favourite. But yeah, that's why they're in there. And the other ones for Spitfire, Bernard Herrmann Composer Toolkit, Hans Zimmer Piano, LCO Strings, Ricotti, they all have different mic position names. So it's all good having these custom mic faders over here. But you may not remember what CO is, or RO, or, you know, so it's just more of like an exotic place for if you really want to use them. Again, I should say this left panel here, I've set to CC22, 3, 4, and 5, just out of the box, so they work with Spitfire. I mean, most people only use 1, 3 mics anyway. But the beauty is now you can change them to anything you want, rename them to whatever you want, and then that's that. So the other thing I've got to quickly say about this custom fader is orchestral tools do not have the same thing as Spitfire, where you just move the fader and it activates. And I wish they did. I wish every single developer out there did just that, because does anyone actually enjoy going onto a V Pro machine and manually moving with their mouse a fader, or turning a button on, and then they can have a real fader with it? But no one enjoys that. It's just literally just want to be able to move the faders. Luckily, they have a purge button, so I've programmed all of these. If I just show you the GUI. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Yes. Right, so back to the big touch screen for a second. Here on the faders, these are exactly the same with one change, and this here is a button, and it's an on and off button, and when you press it, it turns on and it goes grey, white, and it says on and then off again. this track here. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten. I always forget to do that. Turn on the camera. Okay, so Berlin strings. Let's put it on the touch screen again. Go small. Okay, so Berlin strings. We're going to touch the first one, and that should turn on the mic. And there we go. Turn the noise on, and then concert master, and then close, and then AB, and then tree, and surround. And you can instantly use the faders now, and you haven't got to go under the hood. So I just wanted to explain that there is an on and off button on these. Same thing for Cine samples, Cine brass, I was going to say then. Where's Cine brass? Okay, so again on the fader, on the controller, let's have Cine samples. And this is why I kind of put these mics, these faders in here, because they have an on and off button and the Spitfire ones don't, and it kind of makes sense to put them in their own little home. But yeah, okay, so we're on Cinebrass. Same deal with these, on and off. Let's show you that, and I'll press the first one. Let's use the mouse. You can see here in the Cinebrass library, these microphones are turning on. So let's do the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and then let's move the first fader. You can see the actual fader moving. Bad news is with this stuff is that this all has to be done manually, like manual MIDI learn and stuff. But eventually, when this is finished and released in about 48 years, then I will supply the multis and have already pre-programmed this. So if you want to use the instrument tracks that work with the articulation system, with the ID numbers and all stuff, and that's going to have quite a bit of an expansion to it as well, that I don't want to talk about yet. But yeah, you can just literally use all the tracks in this Cubase project and then import them as track presets into your own template, and then it'll just work. But or do it yourself, or reassign stuff, you know. I wanted it to be flexible enough. And there's one lot of faders left. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, so right. Okay, so on the screen here, I've got some Spitfire stuff. Let's stick it all on the same MIDI channel. Okay, so now let's have a look at the controller again. And if you look over here in the right module, let's clear this up so it's not so hectic. We've got the word controllers. So if you click that, we now have controllers here, and all of these have assignable faders as well. So you can change these to any CC number you want. So let's have a look at this library. Violins 1. Dynamics and vibrato are handled with the faders over on this side. So I didn't bother putting them in here. These are for the, you know, release tails and stuff like that. Okay, so we've got speed. I have speed here. I need to change it to MIDI channel 1. And you notice the libraries right now, you should see them move. Are they moving? Yes, good. I can't really tell. My screen is so dark I can't see what's going on. But okay, so that shows that those controllers are preset. Tightness, I have tightness here as well. And you can see tightness is moving on all of them because I mean, Spitfire, I've made most of them consistent. So I just use those as, they all come out of the box exactly as default, but because you can change them again, then it's no big deal. Right, so demonstrate orchestral tools actually quickly. Right, orchestral tools, Berlin strings. If we, yeah, okay, so we've got various controls here, but if we have attack curve and release here at the bottom, and here in the controller, if you notice here we have orchestral tools, so we click that, and these are all orchestral tools ones. And if you see attack, I'll move attack. You see the knob moving in the GUI here, and then attack curve, and then release. Release the hounds. Okay, so yeah, you have controls. Basically, that wasn't quite enough though for me, because I was sort of noodling about, and it was starting to annoy me that they were up there and not on the other side. And I was thinking about putting them on the other side, but then I just had a better idea. And now on the controller in the right middle panel, we have the controllers there, right? So we can actually just instantly just, depends what library is what, but instantly just reach there and it just work. I don't even know what controllers are in here. It's probably doing something, but anyway, that's irrelevant. It's just basically in a second location. So something I should now say about this, because you're probably thinking, well, what's the point in any of this if you can't save it? Which is exactly why we have an auto-saving system. What the auto-saving system does, I didn't want the user to have to save anything. I want it to all just be completely contained, and we're still doing a few things on this, but as it works right this second, it will remember the entire layout. It will remember the last fader movement that you used, and it saves every 10 seconds automatically. Not that you need to know that, but to demonstrate this, let's stick this on expression maps down there. Let's stick this on nudge panel. Let's stick this on fader, knobs. And let's bring all these faders down, right? So, and if you want, let's put XY pads there. Now I'm going to close it. Okay, and now I'm going to reload it. I'll make videos about all this other stuff later, but this takes, there's nearly 200,000 lines of code in this bad boy now, so this takes a good 30 seconds or so to actually load. It's just ridiculous, but I feel like it's worth the wait, man. So there we go. And what happens now is you just have to wait for it for a second, and then it recalls the state that it saves. And you notice how it just changed to the last state that we had. So the expression maps, the nudge panel. The one thing it doesn't do is open everything at once, which I kind of like. You have to press this and breathe button. But if we do that, all of a sudden the knobs are there, the faders there, the XY pads there, all of the faders are down to 0, and the controllers are there. So, you know, if you're in the middle of something and then you actually are lucky enough to get an hour's sleep or whatever, and you just think, right, I don't want anything changed. I don't want my CC values changed for my XY pads. I don't want the faders moved or anything. It saves exactly as it does. And there's a function that we're going to be putting into this where it's going to take like a snapshot. And let's say that you love this layout right now. You'll be able to save that as a preset for whatever, audio or composing or mixing or whatever. And there'll be a menu system where you can change, or I shouldn't talk too much about this because I don't want to promise anything we can't do, but basically you can have different saves for different things. It's very deep and eloquent English, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, I think that this would nicely wrap the video up. I mean, there will be, the reason why we're going to do a save thing for this, where you can take a snapshot of the save states, is because, let's just say right now I don't want all of the faders flattened. I have to actually flatten the desk again, which is a pain. Like, you know, all of a sudden I need to change it back to what I want, which this will get old very quick. So that's why we're going to actually have a way of just going, okay, I want it to actually make a snapshot, and then it will just literally load that exact snapshot without me having to do anything. But it's very experimental at the moment. And here endeth the video. I do have one last little treat actually that I think that we could share. With every single production suite, it is important to be able to tame dodgy sounds and noises, which is why we have a panic button for serious dodginess. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to go and get a glass of water because I'm sweating, and hopefully this has excited some people with the faders in here. I know it sounds like such a boring topic, but faders and autosave system is now fully working, so I'm pretty stoked. Probably only got another 20,000 hours to go on this, and at least another 10,000 faders, but we're getting there soon.